This video is brought to you by Letsynthesize Academy, the #1 place for practical-oriented courses for serious music producers. Hey, Dan Larson here. Do your songs lack of clarity and punch? Now, if they do, I think you should consider mix them in mono. In this video, I'm going to tell you 5 things why you should do that, so let's jump into it. The first thing is if you mix your song in mono, you will be able to spot phase issues a lot easier. Now don't click away because I'm going to show you a very funny example what it really means, and honestly these things don't only happen on the low end, but on the middles and on the tops also. Okay, so this may be the worst example I can come up with because this is an actual sample, actual 808 sample from an actual commercial sample pack. So let me show you how it sounds in stereo. And if we have a closer look, you can see that these waves are cancelling themselves. So if I listen it back in mono, you can hear how badly it vibrates on the low end. This is a very, very bad behavior. So honestly, I can't really understand how can anybody put this sound into a sample pack. And this is not the only sample in this pack. And if I listen it back in mono, you can hear how the parts of the 808 disappear, and that is because, again, with the phase cancellations. Before we go forward, let me encourage you to subscribe because I upload very cool videos about sound design production every week. The second tip: if your song does not sound well in mono, you probably add too much process, too much things that at the end will just ruin your whole mix down. Remember, recording an instrument or recording a sound, it doesn't matter if it's electronic or acoustic, it's a very simple process, and if you overdo it, you may occur huge problems. And honestly, in the following trap example, I did this problem previously. This example could have gone to the first point, but listen to this mix. Sounds cool and wide, right? But if I mono it, oops, that instrument, that bass sound has totally cut out. It is definitely a phasing issue that you would not be able to spot if you listen back your mix only in stereo. But having a good mix is not only about the phasing, but some positioning, balancing instruments, having stereo field, or you can run into problems if you don't have any signal on the mid but only on the sides. This is a common problem that you guys can fix if you follow some basic rules that I'm going to cover in the next Synthesize Sunday episode, so stay tuned. If you want to learn more about mixing, click here. The third thing you should mix your songs in mono is just think it over. There are hundreds of places when your songs will not play in stereo but in mono, for example in the club or in the car, where you are closer to the left side of your song than to the center, or you listen it back at Tesco, for example. And most of the phone speakers still play back sounds and songs in mono. I released a song a few months ago or even a year ago, and honestly I never thought about this, so I ran into this problem. This is a very short part from my old song Move Your Body, and this is actually the ending of it, so let me show it to you how it sounds in stereo. Okay, this is cool, but if I mono it, did you guys hear that weird wobbling kind of thing here? Now this is coming from a rack that I made to make things really wide. So what makes this effect is this pitch wet thing, because if I pull it back, you can't hear the wobbling effect, only if I turn it up. Now what it does is basically applies a frequency shifter only on the right channel, as you can see here, because on the left channel the signal is dry. And honestly I never thought that this could create this very weird thing, and I only spotted it when I listened back my mix in mono. So sometimes a good idea can be a really bad idea. Tip number 4, this is a little weird because I know that most of you guys love the hyper in Serum, which is a very cool stuff, but it can cause huge problems if you overdo it, which I think all of us do. So if you are into bass heavy music, just check this example here. In this little trap example, trap kit, there is a sound that I really love in stereo. But in mono, it creates that very phasing, metallic kind of overtone to it that I'm not a big fan of it. Now, it can be cool if you want to achieve that sound, but the problem is when you listen it back in stereo, you don't really hear that, or just very slightly, but in mono, the difference is huge. Now imagine that you are listening back your song in the club and you have that very weird, crazy sound that you didn't really want to add it to your song. So this is why that I'm not a big fan of hyper in Serum. You know, that very unique unison kind of thing. If you want to add that to your sound, let me suggest you to use the regular unison in Serum. And the fifth thing you should consider mixing your song in mono is, I bet that when you are finished your song, you listened it back like hundreds or thousands of times and your ears are very tired of it. And clicking the mono button can be very refreshing for your ears, so if you think that your ears are tired, just try this method. If you are into sound design, click on this playlist here. I have lots of very cool stuff. And also tell me in the comments, have you ever tried to mix your songs in mono? And what was your experience? I'm very curious about your opinions. So, I was Dan Larson, see you next time. Peace!